Joining me now, our friend Liane Jamason from Smith Associates. Welcome, Liane. Always good to have you here. A full disclosure, I will say that Liane is my realtor, so she helped me put my house together. So we've talked real estate a lot, you and I have. And give us a little bit of where we are right now, like a state of the union when it comes to realty in Tampa Bay.
So overall in Florida, we're seeing an increase of about 10.5% over last year's number, which is a nice increase considering inflation is generally about 3%. But here locally in Tampa Bay, it's actually a little bit higher than that. It's about 12.5% for single family homes.
That's a lot, right?
Yeah,
compared to what those averages are.
Absolutely.
You may mention that their foot's not off the gas yet when it comes to buying.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying, oh, is there a slowdown in the market? I'm not seeing one yet. That doesn't mean there might not be in the future, but yeah, the foot is definitely not off the gas yet.
You know, in the amount of time that you and I have been talking about this sort of thing, we mentioned specifically at the beginning of the resurgence that a lot of those were flippers. They were businesses buying up properties and reselling them or turning them into rentals. Are you seeing as much of that now?
Not as much. There's still a little bit of that, but I feel like in the beginning, anytime you have a hot market, you start to see flippers come into the market, or what I call wannabe flippers, which are like the mom and pops. And then they sort of get weeded out once they realize it's not quite as easy or as inexpensive as they think it might be. So.
Interest rates are still low, right?
Interest rates are still low.
Will all of the sales that are happening now impact that at all?
I don't think the sales will, and a lot of people always ask, you know, what about if the Fed raises the interest rate? Well, they're not necessarily correlating. A lot of times it depends on how the market reacts. So if the stock market takes a dive, a lot of investors will jump out of stocks and jump into mortgages. And so that actually stabilizes things. So we're actually at a 3-year low in interest rates.
Really?
Right now.
And so no sign of that changing anytime soon that you can see?
You know, I wish I had a crystal ball, but... No, we don't anticipate anything, any huge jumps, and I don't think, you know, politicians aren't in a rush to do anything, it seems, these days, so we don't see them making a drastic change.
All right, so in my particular case, from the minute we had an offer secured on the house to the closing, it went pretty quickly. Is that still happening? We're like getting this, okay, I take your offer, now let's roll.
Yeah, I would say 30 to 60 day closes are about average, and those numbers have actually come down some, and part of that is because we're seeing fewer short sales and foreclosures, so there's not these long delays where you're waiting for a third party to approve something.
What about this is good or bad for you? I mean, obviously if there's a lot of sales going on, that's good, but are you having difficulty finding properties to sell? I mean, because they're going so quickly?
Yes, so I'm primarily a listing agent, and my partner works with our buyers, and so for me it's great as a listing agent because sellers are getting closer to the prices that they're hoping for. But for my partner, it's a little more difficult when he has a buyer that wants a home. They're in a lot of competition with other buyers right now.
What are the various sources? I mean, obviously we've got the MLS, and you've got Realtor.com. What are some other places that people can go to find where there's a good property available?
First, I would say contact your realtor and have them set up a direct MLS search that notifies them the second a new listing pops up. Because things are so competitive right now, that is the most direct source. As far as third-party sources, I do like Realtor.com because it's fed directly from the MLS. Whereas Zillow and Trulia are not updated, and sometimes I think even you send me a few and you say, look at this one I found on Zillow and it sold 3 years ago. So
not the most current information, and you were so patient with me during that process as well. All right, so what advice do you have for potential sellers or buyers out there right now?
So for sellers, you know, price it right. Don't get too crazy with a lot of people say, oh, the market's rising, so I can put a crazy price on it. You want to price it well, or even slightly underprice it, because it'll create a bidding war and you'll actually get a higher price for your home.
Well, don't you find that people too, they're so married isn't the word I'm looking for, but they're so invested in their home that they believe it's worth so much more than it actually is.
Absolutely.
How do we find that right price?
Listen to your agent, look at the stats, look at the market, go see some of your competitors as if you were a buyer, and that really helps.
All right, and for buyers, what advice do we have for them?
For buyers, you want to remove as many contingencies from the contract as you possibly can. That means things like putting a higher deposit down, smaller inspection periods, smaller window to close if possible. And then as far as finding the best deal for buyers, I encourage people, you know, a lot of people want the house that's got the redone kitchen, the redone bathrooms. If you really want the best deal, look at that house that has the 1970s pink kitchen. If you can afford to redo it and you like the rest of the home and the rest of the layout, sometimes doing those cosmetic updates are a great way to get a better deal on the home versus, you know, something that's completely move-in ready.
Is that because once those renovations are done, the price increases that much more, and then on top of that, because it's cosmetically done?
Exactly, and you're just less competitions with other buyers that don't want to renovate a pink kitchen. So you might get a better steal on that home versus the one that 3 other buyers are trying to buy that's already done.
Yeah, you know, one of the things I loved about my home is that they actually left the yellow tiles on in the living room and in the bedrooms. They took the bathrooms out, which I thought was great, but they left a piece of the home in there. So it still was reminiscent of those mid-century modern homes that we have so many.
Exactly, and those are becoming popular.
What's the hot part of town right now?
Oh gosh, downtown is still very popular. You
Both
see
Tampa and St. Pete?
Both, exactly. Yeah, you see a lot of new projects going up. South Tampa is always going to be hot. West Chase is always going to be hot for families. Fishhawk Ranch. And Old Northeast and Kenwood for St. Pete.
Yeah, all right. So if you need some good housing advice, Liane's the person to have it. Liane, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.